Waiting, waiting, waiting. Was somebody called Aristo who likes talking about tacos, who was the one who suggested this title. He may be otherwise engaged, but I can give you an introduction to the subject of this stream, which is about law and principles and rules under a particular moral system that would be considered theocracy because of the book it goes under, the Quran. Even though I am not myself Muslim, but I don't think it's that much of a problem that an agnostic should be promoting a theocracy because, well, if it's the best available moral system, why would you find something else? Why would you use something less robust and less enduring if you already have the best system at your fingertips? I see that tax, insurance and accessories is asking no longer the cyborg. Well, I think I should change my avatar from time to time just to retain my sense of mystery as a woman. But still retain my essential character as somebody promoting a particular form of moral system. Since Risto is American, well, I don't know. I don't know what he might be doing at the moment, but we will give him a chance to arrive. He was the one who specially requested this stream. Yes, what I'll do now is give you the link. Hopefully you will be able to arrive. It's not StreamYard, so, but it is, because I've run out of my 20 hours of free streaming. So I will be, so hopefully you will have Google Meet already downloaded. Here's a link. Oh damn, for some reason, I bet it's not showing. No, it's not showing. For some reason I can't post under my actual avatar. How can I solve the problem? Yeah, I've been trying to get it back to my original avatar, but I can't. Well, let's see what you can do with this. If you can do, meet, full stop, Google, but do it all under one word. Maybe you'll be able to get it. Can you get it? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing up. Or why I can't use my original avatar. But if I break it up using the spaces, I think you can get... Oh, now it's kind of timing me out. Hold on a minute. Stay in the call. Will it do it now? Oh no, it's still not letting me do it. Okay, let me try another way. But you know the thing is HTTPS. How about this? Can you see it now? Is it going to be awkward again? No, it's still not doing it. It's just being awkward because it wants me to pay for StreamYard, I guess. Will it do it now? Damn. Why can't I even... Okay, let me see if I can post it in the description. Sorry about this. This is very frustrating. So when I finally get round to posting it, you should be able to see it in the description. My apologies. It's not worth me paying for $40 a month. Now, is it showing now in the description? Yes, it is. So you can come join me now. Finally, Risto. Spirit of the law versus letter of the law. I just don't get it. I think I managed to make a reasonable case on the Chris Howard show about why rules are necessary. Once you have internalized certain beliefs and values and principles, you should be able to function very well in that group that operates under that belief system. And even if you don't quite agree with these beliefs, you can just obey the rules and things will work for you. And that's the whole idea. That's why you have a religion. And there doesn't need to be complete agreement. You just want majority agreement. And the majority will agree because most people want to fit in and go along to get along. Admit guest. Admit. Hi, Risto. Hi. Welcome. Yeah, we can cut straight to the chase and get straight to the point. Yes. So, why do you want to discuss this subject, and do you have a question? Well, the one you wanted to talk about. Don't be shy now. What would you like to tell me about tacos? I don't know why you're being so shy. Well, you show yourself on stream, so I don't think you're as shy as me. Your battery's running out. Do you really want to spend time talking about tacos? Please, just get straight to the point, or you're going to get kicked. I don't want to talk about tacos. I don't think you really want to talk about tacos, because if you did want to talk about tacos, you'd be saying what you had to say about tacos. So, is your battery running out or not? Are you here just to troll or not? Make your case. Troll. Genetics? Tacos are part of our genetics? Are you pretending that I've never enjoyed any food, and you feel that you're doing something useful by lecturing me on the pleasure of eating? Are you patronizing me? So what is your point? We enjoy food. Some foods are delicious. And? Nobody's going to deny that we are capable of enjoying pleasure. Next point? And you didn't think anybody knew that until you decided to talk about it. But your suggested title was Laws and the Spirit of the Law. Did you want to say something about that? Yes, we were discussing the operation of rules and how to talk about them and how to enforce them, and anything else? I mean, atheists often say it's mind control. You know, religion, God is mind control, and of course it is. But then any ideology is. I mean, if you live in a communist state, then the government would want everybody to believe in communism, but be aware that there will inevitably be dissidents who want something else. Well, you would be looking at the world through your parents' eyes, I suppose. Because your parents, well, if they're looking after you, would be, showing you the world in their particular way. Yes, yes. Languages are codes of expression. Well, I'm actually pretty omnivorous. But I mean, I think everybody, well, most people enjoy eating. They like sweet things. They like salty things, sometimes sour things, but not often bitter things. But it can be an acquired taste, like Campari, for example. It's a cocktail. Well, well, you mix it with something else. Yes. It's an adult appreciation, I suppose. Children are often astonished that grown ups would like anything bitter. Yes. Yes, I suppose you didn't have, adults who would give you a taste of their beer or something when you asked for it. And, yes. And then it's chilies. Well, well, chili is an acquired taste, isn't it? Children don't tend to grow up, liking chilies. But then I suppose that, well, that children growing up in South Asia might, you know, feel that something is missing in their food if it's not hot enough. I rem, yeah, I remember I did have a delicious burrito in Tijuana, and and well, it was just better than any of the burritos that I ever had because it was so fresh. But it wasn't in a especially nice looking restaurant. It was one of those very kind of Mexican type things. But I remember how delicious it was because of the ingredients. What will you get your money from? Yes, I think the South Indians call it street food, i.e., food you can get off, get from hawkers, I guess. Uh huh. Yes. Y- well, I've been to a few places that may surprise you, but yeah, I did visit an uncle in San Diego some years ago. Yes. So there was some analogy you were going to explain to me about that I wasn't quite clear about. Um, Neither do I, but I think um, it was something to do with me not getting the spirit of the law, because I was too focused on the letter of the law, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Right. But perhaps sometimes it's lost. Let me see. Um, I, I think it was in reference to Luke, Luke's stream yesterday, and and I said it's basically about nothing, and then you said my statement's inaccurate. It's a criticism that takes no effort to make. Um, and then I asked, can you remember what Luke was saying, since you're claiming that it was also meaningful to you? And then you said, sometimes the comments can get lost. Uh huh. Well, then the response is, well, what did it mean to you then? Since you have disagreed with me that it was meaningless. No, I think I found the thread now. So you said on my stream, commenting on Luke's stream that he joined, I said, no, you said there is a difference between just enlightening people with what you already know and exploring what you don't know. And then I asked, for example, and then you started on your taco analogy. You said, I could just tell you tacos are the best food of all time and all other pale in comparison, or we could explore the question together. Which foods are more the heart and soul of a cuisine, celebratory fancy foods, or plain everyday foods? And then dialogue about the question. And and then I Mm-hmm. Well, I think everybody, if they were being sensible, would agree with me that, we need laws forbidding murder and theft and, other stuff, don't we? But only if they like Mexican food. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's home cooking and festival food, but I think you really want to talk about something else because you did say it was an analogy for something else, and so we're back to. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Yes, I mean, what you said reminded me of PVK's latest interview with Gavin. And his story was he came to the corner and he wanted to tell everybody what to think. And at the time, he wasn't even Christian, but after that, he became Christian and now is a frequenter of mega churches. And so that's how the TLC changed him. Mm-hmm. Well, yes. I mean, one of the things that emerged is that you, they have a particular procedure. You go to the mega church, and of course, the mega church is very organised, and it's got somewhere to put the kids while you're listening to the sermon, and your kid would have a number, and if your kid is misbehaving and they want you to take it away, the number will flash of your kid. So you would be in the middle of the service, and it's like when you're at some important function, and then there's an announcement about your car blocking somebody's way out or something, and you have to go and move your car or something. Something like that. Well, I guess it depends on why you go to church, and if you want to go, I imagine, I've never been to a mega church, but you want to go there for the vibe, right, the atmosphere, everybody. I guess Pentecostalists would be all, speaking in tongues and rolling on the floor, and if you like that sort of thing, that is where you'd have to go. And if you want, a quiet service where, the vicar or the priest knows you'd have to go to a different kind of church. And what I found most so revealing about it is, all these churches for you to go to, and PVK's advice was, don't go to the nearest one. It'll be horrible, because apart from it being, conveniently near, you might hate the people. Therefore, if you know somebody who goes to church who lives near you, maybe you would like to go to church with him, but they might, be a bit nervous and, not want you to kind of, go to their private space or something. It sounds such a social, what's the word? I was going to say landmine. Is it? It's a social event fraught with landmines that you might trip over. It sounds like. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes, I suppose you could put tacos on every different kinds of things on tacos. Mm. Right. Mm. Yes. Yes, but in America, I mean, is there a good church guide, or maybe it's so divided? You have a good red church guide and a good blue church guide. Oh, how do you tell? Okay, of course, right. Okay. Right, I mean, like what? Could you tell me? Oh, yes, oh, yes. Right, yes. Yeah, but it's not like a consumer's guide where you can have a tick list of yeah, or a good church directory, or yeah. It rings a bell, but yeah, but I don't remember his content. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds like I probably heard of him because I might have watched a video of him and PVK together. But isn't it a bit of a problem when it's a social club? Then your church is a social club, but even it's the same even for Jews and even for Muslims, I suppose. We're going to go to that mosque for our kind of people. We're going to go to that mosque for our kind of Jews. Oh, there is this expression of Jack Mormon, the Mormon that isn't that serious or that observant and is low status compared to the ones who are who are fully paid up and get all the membership benefits or something. Yes. Yeah. No. I was going to say that maybe that's a problem. You're faced with this sort of plethora of choice, and it's not surprising that people get confused. And I think therein lies a problem because if you do if you would do a multiple choice test, it's usually A to D, and maybe you think you've done reasonably well because you even if you don't know, you might be able to guess correctly. But if every multiple choice question has an option of A to Z, then I'm sure even when you do finish the test, you'll feel that somehow or other you probably failed because there were so many choices and you were bound to have made the wrong choice, and probably given up looking at the options, before you read all of them. Yes, and that I think is why we need a religion. It's like you don't all have to agree, but because we're the kind of people living in this kind of country and blah 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 with our history, this is how we're supposed to think of ourselves, and then go with it. And I guess once upon a time America did have this sort of thing, and then it went away. I don't think you need to get back into a time machine. I mean, there is no need to, try and invent one. I mean, we can make the best of our situation. Once we understand, what exactly it is that's bothering us, and it seems to be a law and order problem. Well, I was thinking, I guess, of the Minnesota shootings and people defying the police or kind of making it their occupation to defy the police and think of themselves as heroes um, and and perhaps some people in the TLC even thinking that it is a virtuous thing to go and demonstrate, and obviously other people don't agree, and I guess this isn't being properly discussed because I guess it's a culture war or a class war or maybe an intergenerational thing. I guess I'm thinking of Mark Parker. Partition in India. But you've been doing it since, well, since the beginning of the adoption of Christianity by Constantine. And well, yes, and I think, I mean, if you look at the founding documents, I mean, there is some reference to the creator, indirectly, implicitly, isn't there? And then on your dollar bills, you say you are, that you trust in God. But but I suppose that what we discovered, I think it was yesterday, yes, with Mark. I mean, he was talking about converting to Catholicism, and and then he was talking about all these people in private and public, shocked and appalled, and getting hold of him. And I wondered myself why I was in a way appalled, because I was thinking, as a Protestant, what would be the point of going back to Catholicism, considering the Protestants won the wars of the Reformation? Why would you do that? Because, well, but I speculated that it might be something to do with the current Pope being American. Making it seem like some kind of, we have come full circle, that sort of thing. Oh no! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, perhaps it will be an interesting. I don't know how to fix it. Dang. Hold on. Before you go, I'm just sort of looking at something on the thing that maybe I should press or not. Um, I, well, I don't think I muted anything. What a shame. I'm so sorry. Um, yeah. Um, okay. But I can. Maybe I'll just sort of speak in a way that makes what you said clear within the context. I think I've been reasonably clear so far about what. Oh, I don't know. Who knows what's clear and what isn't. Um, we've been talking about. I'll be able to put it together afterwards, but let's continue the conversation since it's quite interesting, and then I'll fill in the gaps later, maybe. Right. Yes, I think that must be it. The most ancient seems to be the most effective. Let me just try this because I think I may have solved the not hearing you problem. I hope it has been solved.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just in Google Meet, so.
Okay. No, but the fault is all mine. I think it's some setting that I hope I have addressed, but maybe not. Well, yes, but in a way, it's all about producing content, and we speculate about Mark's motives, and then I guess he will be saying,
Well, I didn't speculate about his
okay,
motives.
okay, me, I did,
Okay, well, I want to go on the record saying I'm not speculating.
yes. And then Mark can say, that's not my motive at all. In fact, it's this and that and the other. So
Yeah.
maybe that will work. And anyway, since you're not audible, you're not guilty of anything.
Well, maybe, or guilty of everything. I can be guilty of anything.
Well, I suppose I could say it was your idea to have this stream. He made.
Well, I was happy to have the stream. I was happy to have the stream. I mean, if we dialogue much, we will be talking about tacos a lot. You'll get tired of it. But
Right, they
that's
can hear you now.
okay. Great.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry about that, people. This is free software, I suppose.
Yeah, what was just for the, in case I ever do Google Meet stream, what was the fix?
I went into settings and in audio and I clicked a few things.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Google settings or YouTube settings?
Yes.
OBS. Okay, it's an OBS issue. Okay.
Yeah. And it's quite complicated, I guess. Yeah. Well, we did fix a problem. I even managed to fix a display. I don't often use this, you see. So, yeah, I think, I mean, what Chad said, I know he hates me, but I'm going to be promoting his idea that we should be more antisocial online than we are in real life. Not that we need to go out of our way to be rude, but I think we might as well say what's on our mind, because time is short and life is short, and there's so much that needs to be discussed, don't you think?
Well, there's a Spanish common Spanish phrase that I like to use, which is "¿Por qué no los dos?" Why not both? So I think you can have your taco and eat it too. I think you can practice intellectual and interpersonal virtues and be very forthright at the same time.
Yes.
And I think it's difficult. That's not easy. It requires some skill, some practice, some purpose. And I think a lot of times people are just lazy online, and I certainly am. And because the people on the other end are still people. So I think sometimes we give ourselves an excuse because of the abstraction to not treat them like people, and I'm not okay with that. That's not good.
Yeah, I suppose people do get heated because it's about religion and politics, and even if you're not religious, really the substitute for the God you ought to worship is your own ego, and when people
That's
think
true.
that their beliefs are being questioned, they can get very nasty indeed.
That's well said there. That's I think Gavin even said that in his interview with PVK was he spent a lot of his life with himself as the monarch of his life, and becoming Christian, the big shift for him was shifting that to God instead of himself.
Yes, and well, I mean, what Trump said about morality being what's in his mind is perhaps a little alarming, or not really. I don't even know what to think now.
Yeah,
Be-
people want my mic to be turned down. Apparently, I'm getting
I'm
notes.
trying to do that.
Yeah, I can try and speak quieter.
You're actually coming across fine, but it's my settings. But I think I am clicking on the thing. Yes, carry on. Yes, so I suppose in a way, ultimately, we decide what we think is moral, and therefore we have to decide. We have to be reasonable people, so that we can be persuaded by you know reason and facts. And if we're
I
not,
hear I hear a cat in the background.
I have fed it.
What is its name?
It's called Gina.
Gino?
Gina.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a Christian, so I'm not supposed to determine my own morality, be the final arbiter of that.
Well, I mean that's what religion is about, isn't it? It's basically saying, well, you know, here are the things that we always do, or here are the things we never do. That's our religious principles, or our moral principles, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's one piece of the pie, but not the whole thing. Um, but I think there's also, I think that definitely, I agree with you. That is part of it. There's the moral code that people look to from religion. There's the social structure and traditions that you get from it. But then also, I think it does point to, I don't know, have you ever read the New Testament?
Bits of it, but not all of it.
Okay. It's good to read. I read it a few years back, the whole thing, all in kind of one go, over a few months, like to try and read it fairly quickly, um, to see what it was saying, what it teaches. Um, but in, I think it's Romans, it talks about the other piece of religion, which is recognizing, because Romans is maybe the first work of Christian apologetics, the book of Romans. People can correct me about that if I'm wrong, but I read it that way, which is the Apostle Paul saying at the beginning of Romans, his apologetic is, look around at the world, look at a sunset, enjoy a good taco, experience the world around you, and that those experiences should point you, or do point you to, that there is something or someone transcendent beyond our existence. That our existence isn't merely the interaction of particles. That there's something more, and then he says that clue is the beginning of your journey to be open to and explore if there actually is a supernatural being beyond our daily experience.
How about this idea? Because this what you suggested sounds well and good, but it might be a little subjective, because I've spoken to people who think, isn't it obvious that God exists? Well, and
Mhm.
I'm saying, well, not to some people who, don't have your inclination to believe in God, who probably, were reared thinking it's stupid to believe in God, and therefore another approach should be tried. And I think it could be that religion is necessary for morality. And then you have all these atheists who will say, "Oh, I don't need to be told by anyone how to be moral. I understand moral principles," and and then they might say, "Well, I'm going to be good, even though I know death is the end, and I won't be rewarded in the afterlife, and I'm going to be good." And isn't that even more noble than all these people who believe in God, who think that they're going to be rewarded or punished? So I would say that Jews as a religious group are useful, because they're the people who have been. You were saying, the reason why Mark is thinking of becoming Catholic is because it's so ancient, and what's more.
Well, no, I didn't say that. I said that's why many people do. I wasn't speculating on Mark's reasons.
Well, I think he actually said that was what it was.
Okay. Well, I'll leave that. I'll leave that to. I think it solved. Yeah, he did. He did mention that it does go back, like that line. You can trace it back, and that the Pope solves. Well, he mentioned a number of different reasons. The Pope solves the authority question, so that you don't have to sort out every single doctrine for yourself. Although I don't think we do have to sort out every doctrine for ourselves. And then he also said, I think he respects Catholics. He sees people in that communion where he feels like he can, even when they disagree, share a common cause in serving people, the poor and needy of society, with them. I think that's how I would summarize what I've heard him say.
And so I think a practical way of comparing religious groups is to say, well, which religion is doing the best, and adopt that one. And I guess, everybody agrees that, Jews are the world's most ancient and powerful tribe. And this includes, Christians, or some Christians who are always complaining about them, implying that they are the eternal victims of Jews, which suggests that they think Jews are more powerful than Gentiles. And this seems to be this view seems to be either consciously or unconsciously adopted by even people not of the Abrahamic religions.
Yeah, yeah, that is one approach. I can see some value in that approach. Um, yeah, that way, because you can look at, yeah, you can look at just pragmatically different groups, what they do, how they've held up over time, as one metric. It's not a guaranteed metric, right? Like there are some things. If you look at for instance, like cultural practices, usually the cultural practices that have lasted for generations do have some degree of communal democracy. Like they'll tend to choose one, like a better expression, but not always. Sometimes the better expression does get lost to history. So it's not a guarantee, that method, but it's a decent it's a decent way to do it. I mean, for me, like I was raised in a Christian family, with all those kind of standard Christian teachings, but I was probably on my way to functional atheism, in my youth years, and then had an experience with Jesus. that changed my life. So because of that, experience, probably, that limits the field of options for me, at least. Um,
Yes. So
and
so
it is subjective.
yeah,
Um,
and I think it shouldn't be, because then you'd be vulnerable. If you thought you met God because you met Jesus, well, or even a totally different kind of religious experience, people would be skeptical. You see, and then well, you see that some people know, my position on things, and they don't want to talk to me because they know that I'm going to undermine their belief. But if you just say, I choose to believe because I think it's a good idea because of these reasons, which are sound reasons, then you're always going to win the argument. Well, if you say, well, I met God, I felt his presence, on such a time, on such a mountain, um, you would be,
well,
vulnerable to being undermined.
uh, I'd say I'd say I'm sympathetic to your argument, but I think I do disagree with it, for a few reasons. Um, I think our experience, subjective experience, is does run the risk of being undermined. I agree with that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that all of our subjective experiences are invalid. So for instance, you talked about the burrito that you enjoyed in Tijuana. I could just say, well, I don't think your burrito was good in Tijuana, and that's just your experience. But that doesn't invalidate it. Um, I could ask you which place it was, and then go and try it myself. And if I have an informed palate, um, I could, it, I could either confirm or deny that. So I could go and eat that burrito, and then maybe we talked afterwards, and I said, yes, you were right. We do have an agreement. I think so. There, the subjectivity is still there, but most of our experience is subject. There is subjectivity that we lean on all the time, so it's not. We can't say that it's always and completely invalid, but it is open to scrutiny. But also, I would say that our reasoning can also have the same, can not the same, but it also is subject to error as well. Um, Even like mathematical systems that are very well, like some of the most carefully reasoned mathematical systems, like Euclid's elements, they find, that they question the axioms for centuries, and then end up coming to what was it, non-Euclidean, non-linear geometry, finding a different frame that it didn't invalidate it, but it definitely, um, it did. What would I say? It did show that the linear geometric perspective was incomplete. And reasoning, all our reason is always open to error. We can't ever say that just because I've given you this solid reasoning, that therefore it is proved and it is demonstrated without error that I'm correct, right?
Well, as it's intelligible and understood, you know, we I think we should go with intelligible and logical explanations that fit in with the narrative that we're supposed to believe in, and so I don't see how anyone can deny that the last three global empires have been Christian.
Mm. Yep.
So you can say, well, there we go. There you go. The Spanish Empire was Catholic, the British Empire was Anglican, and the American Empire was Protestant. And now
But
something
you,
is happening.
yeah, yeah. But that's a correspondence, right? Like we don't know that it was Christianity that was the cause of their success. We do know that there's correlation between those things, but it's a logical fallacy, right? To say that then we know that Christianity was the cause.
Well, if a people are going to identify by a religion, even the atheists would have to say, well, I guess if you're going to ask me what religion Westerners have, I have no choice but to say it's Christianity because it's not Islam or Hinduism or, whatever. So even an atheist could say that, the religion of Westerners is Christianity. And therefore we have to assume that it formed the characteristics of Western man. I mean, in the same way that Jews would have to say, well, we only exist because of Judaism, because without Judaism there would be no Jews.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And and I wasn't saying that just because reason is open to fallibility, that then we just throw the whole thing out. Um, because Euclid, while his system of geometry was incomplete when they started to consider, what if we put these shapes on a non-flat surface, on a non-planar surface? While it was incomplete, it still did a good job of describing it from a certain perspective on the flat plane. Um, so I do think we can make those observations about Western civilization and and try and make some observations and try and connect things that we see that correlate. I think that's legitimate. Um, but things are complicated, so it could be more than just, for instance, the religion that played into the rise and success of Western civilization. But it's definitely worth considering.
Yeah, I think Western man was more inventive and bolder in his exploration, simply because Europe is it is the smallest continent of the world, and it's a very crowded continent, and Europeans were always fighting each other. And when they discovered more continents, they would take their wars elsewhere, and they started two world wars. And if World War III breaks out, it will be started by them again.
Yeah, and all of that stuff is probably above my pay grade. I don't know much about history, but I mean, what you're saying makes sense. PVK would probably be a better because I think he studied history, right?
Well,
Um,
he's a great reader. He's always reading and telling us about the books that he's read. And
but I think his undergraduate may have been history, and
oh,
he's continued to read history. I could be wrong about that, but I thought I heard him say that.
yes, yes. Well, I'm a bit of an amateur historian as well, and
Mm,
and history is, I was going to say constantly changing, but in a way it is, because the victor is constantly changing, and it is the victor who writes history. And of course, what's happening now will become the history of the future, and and how we look at history will depend on our standpoint as victims and oppressors, or vanquished and conquerors, whatever they may, whichever one it is. And And I mean my observation as an amateur historian is that these Republican revolutions that we have all heard of, the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, was was about Europeans rejecting monarchy, the totalitarianism of absolute monarchy, and of course monarchy was supported by Christianity, and that was its original purpose. When you think of Constantine, being the first Roman emperor to adopt Christianity, I don't think he did it for fun. I think he did it because he thought the old imperial cult, the Roman imperial cult, was failing, meaning that nobody believed in it and nobody acted on it. And perhaps the success of the Abrahamic religions is simply that belief in the Abrahamic God is so totalizing that people will behave correctly. Those people who believe in God and the afterlife, and they will make sacrifices and do what they need to do for the group, and make the group successful.
Yeah. Would you say, do you think the original teachings of Christianity, of Jesus and his disciples, were in support of nations being run by the Christian religion?
I tend to ignore these narratives because, I mean, we could argue about them, and they may not even be true. Being trained as a lawyer, I just sort of go through, the Ten Commandments, and I realize the Jews say, no, the Ten Commandments are for us. The Sabbath is for us. For them, it is the Noahide laws. And what the Noahide laws mirror in the Ten Commandments is a prohibition against idolatry and blasphemy. And that might be the problem. But interestingly, the Quran, if you ever read it, does not specify a punishment, a this life punishment anyway, for idolatry and blasphemy. In fact, the Quran doesn't even mention blasphemy. And I have been arguing for quite a while now that it is actually Sharia that supports the First Amendment, because of the existence of chapter 2 verse 256 of the Quran, that says there is no compulsion in belief, truth stands clear from error. And there is a separate verse, chapter 17 verse 111, that says Allah does not need a protector, and I interpret that to mean he does not need blasphemy laws to protect his feelings from being hurt by all these blasphemers. And to the extent that the Quran even mentions blasphemy, it is to warn Muslims not to mock the gods of the pagans, in case they get angry and curse Allah. So that's all it says about. Well, it doesn't. Like I said, it doesn't even mention blasphemy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I think there is value in visiting the original text. So you can always question the original text and their validity. Did these stories really happen? Did so and so really write this thing? That question's always open. But it's a different question to say, what did the original text say versus the million interpretations or expressions that you see today, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
I would focus on what all the three Abrahamic religions are going to agree on, and the Jews will also, will agree that the Ten Commandments forbid idolatry and blasphemy, and I know Christians in their churches even, carve out the Ten Commandments on, in stone in their churches. And they have incorporated it into their religion, and Muslims do take a position against idolatry. So what we can agree on, all three Abrahamic religions know that worshipping idols is a no.
Why do you think that is? What's wrong with worshiping idols?
Well, it's a kind of badge of worshipping the Abrahamic God. It's like, well, the Abrahamic God is the one that forbids bowing before idols.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know, there's kind of a rationality to it, right? That you there's one it's to say that there is a true God to whom I should worship, and I shouldn't be creating additional gods for myself. Versus a religion that can just create tons of gods.
Well, the thing is, I mean, even the Shahada, which I hope I'm saying it correctly, um, there is no God worthy of worship apart from Allah. And the thing is, you don't even have to believe in God to accept that. If you know of the most powerful being conceivable, why would you worship a lesser God? Because
Right.
because somebody is going to say, well, my God is more powerful than your God, so I win.
Well, and it ties in, what I was trying to say is that it ties into rationality itself. Even if you're in a society of atheists who are constantly arguing about, no, this is true, you have the false belief, right? You're saying, like, there is a standard, I want you to submit to it, this truth that is above both of us. And if you break that law, if you don't submit to that truth, if you say 2 plus 2 is 5, you have violated something in the universe above us. Um,
And all your sums will be wrong, and all your
right,
calculations will be wrong, and you
right,
will, yes, slip from error into disaster.
yeah, yeah. So in a sense, we kind of appeal to that, to a higher rationality. I think truth, not only tacos, but truth itself, rationality is another clue to God's existence.
Yes, I think atheists, even in their own way, reach out to God when they say things like, in the best of all possible worlds, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
such and such wouldn't happen. Or this, wonderful thing that I'm, drawing a picture of would happen. So,
yeah. We find a longing in ourselves, right, for those things, for rationality, for things to be set a certain way, right? There's a right way that the universe should work. There's a right way that people should treat me. Um, that
for
that that is appealing to something above us.
we long for perfect justice.
Yep, yep.
And
I
that's
agree.
why the afterlife is so necessary because, well, in this life, we don't see an awful lot of good being rewarded or evil being punished. So these categories of, afterlife have to be created to give us a theoretical idea of perfect justice. And it's only the existence of the Abrahamic God that makes it logical for us to believe that an omnipotent and omniscient and perfectly moral God would make sure that good was rewarded and evil punished in this life or the next.
Yep, yep, yeah. Perhaps we created those as a way to scratch an itch, solve a problem that we had, or perhaps we created those in response to, like, in the terms of like Platonic forms, perhaps we created those as responses to the structure of the universe, the way that God structured the universe. And we're just, we're playing things out because that's how things are structured. The universe isn't just structured with physics a certain way. The universe is structured metaphysically a certain way, and we tend to, and when we violate that, we suffer the consequences, and when we align with that, things go well.
Yes, I mean, there are laws of physics and laws of morality.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I suppose the laws of physics, are immediately felt, while the
Mm-hmm.
laws of morality take some time to take effect when we
Yeah,
break them
yep.
as a society, an empire, or a civilization.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
So I
Well,
think
yeah.
it's actually logical to believe in God because under the system, well, you have a narrative that is easily understood, and perhaps I mean, it has been said, somebody told me a long time ago, well, perhaps the Abrahamic religions are more powerful because their God is more powerful than the Hindu God or the Buddhist God.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it makes sense on paper, like you're saying. And we do see, you can look at the way that things work and function through history and today and see, okay, this seems to work, that doesn't seem to work, make some kind of speculations. And then I think on the individual level, I would say it's one thing to talk about tacos and how great they are and whether they're good or not, or the best or not. But at the end of the day, uh, what matters is like go to Mexico and actually try them and see how they are. Um, and that's what I would say about religion is there is that aspect of taste and see. I think it's in the Psalms, taste and see that the Lord is good. So there's as individuals, we also have the option of um, of deciding whether or not we want to be open to interacting with God or be closed off to it.
Yes, the idea of interacting with God is basically conversations with God, isn't it? It's usually God, I want something. Can I have it, please? And
Well,
then,
I think that's a kind of a shot. Like that is how we normally do it. But if you listen to people's stories, like if you listen to a lot of the randos on Paul's channel, it seems like God chooses to interact in a different way, and he kind of works on his own time scale and is concerned with different things than we are. We tend to just want, please give me this, please help this good thing happen, make sure this bad thing doesn't happen. But he seems to be concerned with things beyond that. Um,
well, some people imagine God to be a scientist, and we are his
mm,
lab rats.
mm.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, or a judge, right? Like a cosmic judge who's there to just punish us if we step out of line. Um, but I probably view God all of those ways. But the Christians, the prayer that we're instructed to pray by Jesus when his disciples asked him how to pray starts with our Father. And I think a father is a great picture of who God is. Because a father, a good father, is just, right? Doesn't just let his kids do anything. You can't light the couch on fire. Um, but a good father also cares about the well being of his kids. And it's not just about giving them candy or video games, a good father should have the big picture, long term view in mind. Um, and so I think that's why that analogy is used in the Bible.
Well, he did, well, if he exists, give us the safety rails of his laws.
Yep, yep, I do. Yeah, and that's so Luke was talking about this just to kind of maybe wrap up and go back to what Luke's stream was saying, or maybe what he was trying to get at was a father does give safety rails and rules in his house. Um, do this, don't do this, and if you break those rules, there's consequences. But what children don't understand when they're young, and what we don't understand, is that the rules aren't there just to keep things in order. Um, if we see things from the perspective of our father, we could understand that the rules are there for our own benefit. And we could, like a child who adopts the spirit of the law, the spirit of his father's rules, understands what's behind those rules. That, for instance, like, don't eat too much candy in a day isn't just, it's just not arbitrary. It's that the father cares about the health of their kid. And if they adopt that in their heart, then maybe they start caring about the health of their body themselves as well. And so that it opens up a whole other world beyond just, I didn't eat 10 pieces of candy. I didn't break the law, but you start to think about, you exercised, you ate well. There's so much more to it than just don't break this rule.
Yes, and how they are stated and how they are enforced will have an effect on the child about the benefits or otherwise, or the utility or otherwise of these rules.
Yeah, yeah. But I think Christianity is trying to say it doesn't dismiss the law, and it sees the value of the law and says it's good, actually. But Christianity is trying to say, I think if I were to sum it up, which is probably a poor summary, but I'll just do my best, um, is following the law is important, but repairing your broken relationship with your father is more important, and being aligned with what he wants in such a way that you're not, because you could obey your father's law but do it begrudgingly and being against, not share his values. So I think Christianity is trying to say, um, that it's important to mend the relationship with your father and come in alignment with his will.
Yes, values is an interesting concept. I think it should be clear, whether you're Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, what God values, and it must be obedience, mustn't it?
Um, Definitely obedience matters. Like, because I'm a father, I want my kids to obey. But it's not the highest value. I think that's the lowest value. That's the fundamental. You're doing the bare minimum if you obey.
Yes, but it
But
would be a start.
yes, yeah, I agree with you. It's a great start, and making excuses for not obeying is not good. But
Or not even knowing what those rules are, or not
true,
agreeing about them.
yeah, true, yep. But there is something higher, um, that a good father, wants from their kids.
Yes, love of his children.
Well, for himself, yes, but even for his kids, he wants something higher, which is a relationship. Yeah, relationship with his children, and for them to, for the good things that he wants for them, for that to take root in their heart and in their life, and so that they're able to live that out even when they're out from under his laws.
Yes, and I mean, I think, all the facts are already there. I mean, I suppose the people, the militant atheists who deny God would say, that he's a cruel God, he's an evil God, he hasn't shown much care for all the people who've suffered, that kind of thing. But there is a ready explanation in the Bible already, isn't there? in Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7, about God having created good and evil.
I'd have to go look at that. Certainly, certainly, it does seem like we live in a world that is good, but then also things aren't right. So it's there's a combination of those two things.
I think we know it's not right because our ruling classes are corrupt and incompetent, and but then the blame is thrown back at us because we've also heard the saying that people deserve the government they get.
Yeah, and even without the government, just in my own personal life, I deserve the outcomes I get. And I can see where, oh, I didn't make, wise decisions in those places. And now I'm tasting the bitter consequences of those. So, yeah. Well, my battery's almost gone. Um, it's been delightful talking to you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming, and yes, perhaps next time we can talk about redemption. or,
Mm, yeah.
yes, and
Yeah, that would be interesting. Redemption as it relates to tacos. I don't know if I can make a connection there, so you might be free of taco talk.
or redemption through theocracy, which is a word beginning with T.
Yeah, I tend to the Anabaptist direction. So I'm kind of okay if there's a theocracy and okay if there's not a theocracy. People are going to just do what they do. I'm not too worried about that either way. Um, so
Yes,
well, well, thanks for talking.
and thank you for coming, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
You too.
Take
All right.
care.
Bye, Claire.
Bye.